Hello, and welcome to Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, where saving marriages, saving families, and saving souls is the flavor of the day. Now, let's join our host and author of Marriage Unchained, Catholic Alpha Radical, Jerry Jacobs Jr.
Welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical Live, where I help you fix your Catholic marriage. I've coached and helped hundreds of men in their marriages, and now I want to help you. Call 313-RADICAL now. That's area code 313-RADICAL, and ask me anything on tough marital issues, such as what to do when she's asked for divorce, what to do when you have a mutual agreement of separation but you didn't want it, what to do when your wife is cold and distant, what to do when your wife is having an affair, what to do when your marriage is bad, boring, lukewarm, and passionless, what to do when you engage in a marital embrace less than once a month, what to do when you sleep in separate bedrooms, what to do when she has left the home with or without the children, what to do when you're divorced but didn't want it. Call 313-RADICAL. That's area code 313-723-4225. That's area code 313-723-4225. Again, call 313-RADICAL right now for answers to intimacy problems, communication problems, prayer and spiritual warfare problems, authentic masculinity problems, aka how to man up. So, sit back, relax, take a chill pill, and get ready to rock. But don't duck. Can you feel it? Catholic Alpha Radical coming at you now. Hello, and welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical Live, the podcast that helps you fix your Catholic marriage while also giving you winning tactics for marriage problems, girlfriend problems, and intimacy problems for men. Moreover, where my main mission is to keep you out of divorce court. And where Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, divorce combat coaching is the flavor of the day, while also helping me understand marriage and courting, not dating, in the Catholic faith. Why? Because dating is for sex and courting is for marriage. In this 98th episode, how to be a great Christian dad, your responsibilities to your children in the eyes of God, plus live calls from you answering your marriage and crisis questions. So get in that queue. Call 313-RADICAL. That's 313-723-4225. Or call from your browser at callinstudio.com/radical1 for some resolution to your marriage confusion. Quote of the day. So let's do this. Quote, what is it that makes the lover so curious and interested in all that the beloved does? Why is every tiny gift treasured, every word recalled again and again to memory? Why is every scene colored by the vision of the beloved? If it be not that in some way there is no peace without complete inherence of the one in the other, no lover is ever satisfied with a superficial knowledge of the one loved. The lover of music can never have too much knowledge of music. The lover of God never knows the words too much. Those who accuse others of loving God or religion too much really do not love God at all, nor do they know the meaning of love. Those who are united in love, in joy, and are painted at the same things. The psalmist who loved God would say that his heart was cast down at the thought of those who broke the law of God. End quote. Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen, Book 3, To Get Married. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me to help you in yours. Get live Catholic marriage help Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for some resolution to your marriage confusion. Okay. Hip hop. So, yesterday we discussed in episode 97 how doing an examination of conscience each day can prevent a wife from leaving, asking for a divorce, or seeking an annulment. As the measurement tool, we use the Catholic Church's examination of conscience for the married, which I will link to in the show notes. Again, an examination of conscience is defined as the act of looking prayerfully into our hearts to ask how we have hurt our relationships with God and other people through our thoughts, words, and actions. Using an examination of conscience can give you items to consider daily to help you realize if you are being a good Christian soldier, husband, and father. So today, we reach deep into our responsibilities to your children in marriage as defined by Christ and his church. But let's not get it twisted. As a man, you must never place the needs, desires, and wants of your children above that of God, your wife, and marriage. And I'm going to repeat that because y'all didn't hear me. As a man, you must never place the needs, desires, and wants of your children above that of God, your wife, and your marriage. Just as you should not place your needs, wants, and desires above those of your children, you are a server, not a taker. So, the questions to consider for the day, we're going to consider some questions for the day, as we always do. I love posing questions to get your minds to really go on about what we're going to really talk about today. And again, please do me a favor. Go ahead and get in that queue. And if you have any questions about children today, about what's expected in your family, how to protect them, how to discipline them, what that means in the eyes of God, it's very important that you go ahead and get in the queue at 313-RADICAL. That's 313-723-4225. Because a lot of people today do not understand how to raise kids. It's not that they don't understand. They know what to do, but they neglect it and don't do it right. It's not hard really raising kids. I mean, they take you through a lot of chaos and stuff. But the thing with kids, man, if you and your wife stick together and on the same page and you present a united front to your children, you will not have any problems. You won't. They will, if the kids ain't stupid. What they're going to do is they're going to come to their mother and they're going to ask their mother, can they do something? And if she goes, ask your father. And then that usually stops them right there, right? I don't want to go ask daddy nothing. But if they got enough courage, then they're going to come ask you. And then you're going to say, well, what'd your mother say? And then the mother's going to, and then then you're going to say, well, what did your mother say? And they're going to say, well, mama said to ask you. I said, okay, well, then that means it's my decision. So I say you can't do it, and then they get all mad and stuff. They go huffy and puffy, but then it's over. That's a united front. But let's say that your child goes to the mother and the mother goes, well, I think, yeah, you can go, you can do it. But she didn't really talk to the husband. And so he don't really know anything was going on. And so the kid goes, well, mom said, hey, dad. No, she said, well, mom said, dad come ask you, but she said I could do it. And then you go, well, I don't know if that's what I want, if I want you to do that or not. And then if you go talk to the wife, the mother, and go, look, I don't think they should be able to do it, blah, blah, blah. And then the wife goes, yeah, you're right. Or she convinces you to go, you're right. We'll go ahead and do it your way. Or whatever you guys come up with. If you don't do it that way, and she goes, well, I think they should go. And you go, well, I don't think they should go. Guess what? The kids sitting right here, they're hearing all of that. So guess what they're going to do? Every time that they want to do something, they're going to try to cause a conflict between you and your wife. And it's very important that you realize that kids don't really do that on purpose. It's just they see a weakness. They see a weakness in the wall. And so that lets them know that if I bitch and whine enough, I'll probably get my way. And this is why not Prison United Front will destroy your relationship with your children, and it'll really hurt your marriage. I can't tell you how many clients I've had in my program that the kids run the house. The kids run the house. Whatever the kids want, they get. Whatever the kids want to do, they get. Whoever the kids piss off, that's whatever happens. Who the kids disrespectful to, that's just how it happens. Most of the time, the mother is always on the kid's side because the mother's mad at the father, and so the mother wants friends, and she wants comrades. So what does she do? She enlists the children to try to be on her side. So what does that do? That's the united front of the kids and the wife against the father, the big mean ogre. And that is so mortally and gravely sinful for a wife to do that. To go against the authority of the husband, who is Christ in the home, which means she's going against Christ. And if a woman, I can't tell how many times I've seen women do that, because women have to have support. They have to have it. That's why if your wife is leaving you, somebody told her that it's okay. A priest, a divorced woman, a divorced man, a boyfriend, a lover, it doesn't matter. Adult child, it doesn't matter. Some kind of group that she's in, some kind of divorce support group or something. Women have to have support. And if you don't really realize that as a man, you're gonna go along in your life thinking everything is okay every day, and you're gonna look up one day and your wife's gonna say, "I need some space," and you're not gonna know what happened. This is why I try my best to bang, 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 bang. That you have to open your eyes and get our heads out of the sand and look at our environment, which is our house, our jobs, and things like that, especially our house. Look at our environment and what's going on every single day, okay? And when your instincts tell you something's not right, what do? You move to deal with it. So it's important about that. So some of the questions that we're going to look at today to try to help answer is, what are my responsibilities to my children in marriage in the eyes of God? So you notice Jerry's not saying, well, this is what Jerry thinks. No, I don't roll like that. I don't. If it's my opinion, I'll tell you, Lord, this is what I think. This is my opinion. But mostly everything that you hear me talk about, it's through the church. It's through Christ. It really is. I don't really, and if I expound on something the church says, I'm expounding on it. I'm just going deeper into it, and I am putting my spin on it. The next thing is, am I responsible for the happiness of my children? Oh boy, yeah. Where's everybody gonna tell you? You ain't responsible for the happiness of your wife as a man. You're not responsible for the happiness of your children. Well, who is? If you as the man ain't responsible for the happiness of your children and of your wife while they're in the home, who is responsible then? It's a good question, ain't it? So, should I give my children all of the things I never had as a child? Ooh, should I give my children all the things I never had as a child? Should I let my kid decide if they want to be Catholic or not at 5 years old, at 10 years old? Should I let them decide that? Because when I was growing up, my father, he and my mother, they just drilled the faith into me. They drilled Jesus into me, and I just hate it so much. So what? Who cares? Who cares? Your life and your life is probably crap right now because you denied that. At some point in your life, you denied that teaching that your parents were trying to do. I can't tell you how many people that, I had a guy one time, we were coaching football together, and he was one of my assistant coaches, and he was Catholic, and he went to church too. He went to church. He went to church all the time, but he went, on Sundays and stuff. Man, that dude, he told me one time me and him at a tiff, and we sat and talked it out. We got through it, and it was cool and everything. But that's how coach. This is what happens in football. You always every now and then. Um, and so he goes, he knew that I loved Christ, and I'm a devout Catholic, and I look at the faith a lot different than a lot of people. And so he's like, yeah, man, you know, I'm Catholic, but my father, I don't really go to church that much or nothing. And my father, this is my father when I was a kid. He banged the face of my hand, made me. He If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. If you're getting value from this podcast, I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me to help you in yours. Get live Catholic marriage help Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for some resolution to your marriage confusion. Play. It's still not doing it. This makes no sense. I don't know. I don't know. Makes I don't know. Anyway, I can't be seen. Nobody can hear me. So I guess it's just best to drop. Uh let's see. Let me try reset my camera. You can't hear me either, so it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sitting here. I even reset the. Uh oh. Looks like I'm back. Looks like I'm back. I don't know what happened. Can somebody please check, see if you can hear me now? I'm all alone in the world. I'm all alone in the world. Can somebody please comment and let me know if you can hear me and see me? I feel like I'm alone in the world. I think I'm back. Somebody please talk to me. Somebody please talk to me. Just say, Jerry, I hear you. Jerry, I see you. That's all you got to do. Please, somebody. There's a comment. I hear you. Something is wrong with the sound. Yay, I can. Oh, thank you so much. You are a lovely person for letting me know, my beautiful wife. So we don't have to stop. We can go back. So I probably should have. I don't know if I could hear Scott. I don't think we could hear Scott when he called. But you know what? That's all right. Scott, I don't want to mess with him. He's a good caller. I don't want to say, Scott, call back and let's talk about that again. We probably should though, because let's see if it says live caller. Let's see, live caller. If you can see me now, let me see that. Da 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 da. Live caller. So we are ready to get started back with the content. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for coming back. We can I don't know what happened technically, but of course that's the way of the world. That's the way of the world. My wife said I was getting attacked, which man, that sounds right. Because I'm great going to some good stuff. So thank you guys for hanging with me. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna put my scene back up, the proper scene, so that we can go on with the content about the examination of conscience and how to get our children to what our responsibilities to our children inside the what our responsibilities to our children in the eyes of God inside of marriage. Okay. And so, with that being said, I am going to look at this other comment. Oh, Matt says all good. See, man, that's what good. You got good people. It's always good to be. We got good people, man. Says, I can see and hear you. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Praise be to God. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, y'all. I really appreciate that. I felt like I was alone. I felt like I was all alone in the universe. ah, so that being said, I'm going to try to get hyped up again because that was a buzz killer. That was a buzz killer, y'all. You know what I'm talking about. That was a buzz killer. So now Again, an examination of conscience is the act of looking prayerfully into our hearts to ask how we have hurt our relationship with God and other people through our thoughts, words, and actions. And to do this, we reflect on the Ten Commandments and the teachings of the church. So what that means is we don't go on what we think. That's the problem with a lot of parents is we go on what we think, and that's okay if you're formed correctly by God and his church, Christ church. And the reason why you need to know the Ten Commandments, which is the natural law, is because you're formed correctly. And then once you're formed correctly, you start to make decisions that will please God, please your wife, your children, ultimately, yourself. Okay. So how do we know that the examination of conscience is good? Is scripturally based. So in scripture, an examination of conscience was a command by the apostle St. Paul to be performed by the faithful each time they received Holy Communion. So an examination of conscience, when you go to I guess I should say this. I didn't say this yesterday, but I think I did, but I'm gonna say it today too. When you go, right before you go to confession, to confess your sins to the priest who represents Christ in the church, in the confessional, what you do is you do an examination of conscience, and then examination of conscience, you go over that and you write down the stuff that you've offended God by, and it might be one thing or three things or whatever, your mortal sins and your venial sins. The examination of conscience helps you helps you remember stuff that you might have done during the month or the last time you were at confession, so you don't forget anything. And then you write it down, you go inside the confessional, you spout it off. Forgive me, Father, for our sin. You let me know what's going on. He gives you absolution if you are warranted, and then boom, you're done. So that's another way. That's the main reason examination of conscience is good. It helps you to examine yourself and to not be giving you fluff to yourself, because you can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to Jesus. So the scripture says, St. Paul to be performed by the faithful each time they receive Holy Communion. So, but let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself. 1 Corinthians 11:28 through 31. People don't understand. Now, I'm just talking to Catholics right now because Protestants don't really understand and don't what I'm really going to say. But it's a mortal sin he just said it. It's a mortal sin, a grave sin. Grave is mortal. Mortal means grave. Anytime you hear grave or mortal, that means it's a mortal sin. It means that's a hell offense. That means that's damage to your soul. That means that separates you from God immediately. When you mortally sin, that separates you from God immediately. And what happens is you lose all grace immediately. Okay, so when we go and we in mass, and when we go and we take the Eucharist in, and we are done a mortal sin, and we didn't examine ourselves, and we have done a mortal sin, offense to God, then that is another mortal sin. So now you don't have one mortal sin, you have two. Okay, because St. Paul's saying right here, if you don't believe me, believe what St. Paul's talking about. And St. Paul is coming from Christ, and then Christ is coming from God. So you bring damnation upon ourselves if we take the Eucharist, which is the body and blood of Jesus Christ, if we take it unworthily. Okay, so I hope that helps understand a little bit. So a constant examination of conscience daily helps us on track, keeps us on track, and grow closer to God. So today we'll go over the examination of conscience for the married. Nope, not for the married. Yes, it is for the married. So then we go over the examination of conscience for the married, but we're going to go over the part two of it. So the first part is the responsibility to the spouses. And then the second of it is the responsibility to the children. So when Scott, that's one of the questions Scott asked today when he was here. He asked me, he said, am I marriage and family, or am I just a marriage coach? And I'm the thing about it is marriage hits everything. It's really marriage and it's all the same, and so that's why, but see, and even in this document here, they put it's for the it says for the married, but it includes the spouses and the children. All right, so that's why that's good. Next, so that answers his question really good. Okay, so this document was constructed by Father Thomas Winandi, Executive Director of the Secretariat of Doctrine and Canonical Affairs of the USCCB, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, from 2005 to 2019. And I'll post the link to the examination of conscience in the show notes. So remember, so again, the examination of conscience is for you to look at look inside yourself and see if you offended anybody through your words, through your actions, through your deeds. Okay. So again, heeding to these questions and principles on a regular basis will help you keep a loving, caring, and open relationship with your children throughout their lives. It cannot be understated how much empathy, mercy, and justice, love, and our children understanding. Okay, why an action is being taken against them, or for them. For example, so we have to be careful that when we discipline our children, that we put empathy, mercy, justice, love, and have them understand why we did what we did, or why we are punishing them. Okay, for example, if you discipline your child, there must be a sympathetic but direct conversation of why they were disciplined. Without this conversation, these tips will not work, and it is possible for a long-term resentment to set in. I can't tell you of how many times kids grow up and resent their parents because their parents used to whoop their butt, but they didn't really. The kids understand what they were getting in trouble for, and so they kept it as resentment, and they bared that up throughout the years. So the younger the child is, the less important the conversation is. So you don't have this conversation with a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old if you spanking that butt. You know why? Because they know. You said don't do that. Your tone of voice tells them everything. If your kid was putting his hand on the stove, you would spank that butt and say don't do it again. The kid knows what you're doing. At 1 and 2 years old, 3 years old, your kids cannot understand what you're saying. They only understand your tonal voice and pain. Okay, so it's imperative that we understand that. The reason that's why God says spare the rod, spoil the child, because it doesn't work if you don't. So younger kids need discipline too, but you can't get on a knee and then talk to your kid in their face. Okay, little Johnny, don't do this and don't do that. That was wrong. So we're not going to do that again, are we? That kid has no idea, doesn't understand nothing you just said. That's why you spank them. You have to spank them because they understand pain at that age. They don't understand words. Okay? So that's why we say we're doing an injustice to our children when we try to talk to them about certain things after we've given them. Now, if you got a 2-year-old, some 2-year-olds can, but I'm just, 1 year old or whatever. If you tell them something and they do it, okay, they're good. But and they don't do it, and then they're good. But if they keep doing it over and over, then you've got to understand that your talking is not working, and you have to escalate the punishment level. You're not being mean. Discipline is what you do for somebody, not to somebody. It shows love. And if your kids grow up and you didn't punish them and direct them right, they're going to blame you for everything. Okay? And they're going to be resentful too. So if you whoop them and you don't explain why they're going to be resentful, if you don't punish them or whoop them and you don't say they're going to be resentful too. So it's a no-win situation. That's why I try to give you the best. I try to give you the best odds of connecting with your child. All right. So have I cared for so the first one is, so we're on to the tips now. So basically the examination of conscience has like 26 questions. So we're going to go through them real quick. First is, have I cared for the spiritual needs of my children? So remember, again, this is God, the church, Christ telling you your responsibilities so that we're clear. This is not Jerry. This is not me. This is me giving you what God is asking of you as a parent in the home, and particularly fathers. That's what I'm going to focus on, okay? So The first one is, how have I cared for the spiritual needs of my family? That is the biggest thing on here. That in the discipline. The reason why, because your kid has to, that's what we mean by talking about being formed. Your kid must be formed in the faith. Those of us that say, I'm going to let my kid decide if they want to go to church or not, or be a Christian or not, or be Catholic or not, when they get to be adults, that is gravely sinful. That is being weak as a parent. That's not taking any responsibility for your child. And guess what? Christ Church has it built in naturally for a child to decide what they want to do. This is why Christ is so amazing. It's called confirmation. That's what it's called. That's why you baptize your child to get rid of. You baptize your baby as soon as they come out of the womb, within at most a couple of weeks to a couple of months. The reason we baptize babies is because of original sin. When you baptize, what does that do? You get to start over. Remember, in the eyes of God, you are reborn. Even the Protestants know that one. Okay? So you're reborn. So that's why you baptize a baby. Get rid of the original sin. So then, as soon as the baby's baptized, as a parent, you start forming, the Catholic Church starts forming the baby in God's will throughout his life. Then, when the kid gets to they got first communion and all that stuff, then when they get to like 13 or 14 years old, 15, so we're around in there, what happens is they do the sacrament of confirmation, which is another grace. It's sacred. What happens is, at that time, they go through this class about Christ and reinforcing that. And then guess what? The child gets the 14-year-old gets to decide if they want to be a Catholic or not, which means, do I want to get confirmed or do I not want to get confirmed? If your child is formed correctly through those first 14 years, guess what? It's no problem. Boom. You have the ceremony, the bishop confirms them, and everybody's happy. If you as a Catholic parent do not form your child correctly from the time they're baptized until confirmation, which is about 12 or 13 years, or in the 9th grade, 8th grade, 7th, sophomore, whatever, around that area, your kid would not want to be Catholic. They won't want nothing to do with the faith, which means they ain't want to do nothing with you, and you're going to be very upset because your kid just made a decision that I don't want to be a Christian. That means that they're going to go out in the world unprotected, and you as the parent are responsible for that. You are responsible. The daddy and the mama. Okay? This is why it's important that we take our kids to mass. We get our kids in the scripture. We have our kids pray rosaries. We take our kids to adoration. We have our kids go to daily mass if they can. Whatever. You send them to a school where they go to daily mass, or at least mass once or twice a week after school. You send them to a school where they're talking about theology, the proper way of the Catholic Church, of Christ Church, of the best of the Christian of Christianity. You have to form your child if you want your child to make a logical explanation. And I tell you what, if you form your child correctly in the faith, they will be so much better to be equipped to deal with Satan's world out here. Please understand me on that one. Please, fellas. Do not neglect this. And your kid's not going to be perfect. Of course, when your kid gets 18, they leave out of you, or when they get grown, they probably going to pray the rosary every day. They probably ain't going to go to mass all the time. They probably going to go to adoration. They probably going to read scripture. But guess what? You gave them the greatest gift you could give them as a father and as a mother. You gave them the foundation of Christ's church, the beginning of time. You did. From the time they were babies to the time now, you did the best you could do. And so if your kid goes out and make a stupid decision, does stupid stuff, that is not on you. That's why you got to continually pray for your child until you never stop praying for your kid until they die or you die. Okay? That is the most important thing we're going to talk about today is so when I say form, that means form the conscience, form the awareness of a child so that you don't send them out in the world unequipped with no tools to defend themselves against Satan and the world. Just like at your job. Let's say you are let's say you're a surgeon, and you don't go to school, and you don't get formed by like what the job entails and the skills of the job and the mentality that you got to have to be a surgeon. And then and then they just put you in the in the operating room, and you start operating, and you don't know what to do. You're in a whole different world. You don't know what's going on. That's the way you got to look at your child. We cannot continually keep sending our kids out in the world unequipped to battle Satan. Now, if they get out there and they don't conform, that's on them. They not on you. Okay. Next. Have I been a shepherd and guardian as God has appointed me? So basically, have you as the man been a shepherd, means taking care of your children, a guardian, protected and defended them? That's your mission, right? Protect, defend, and serve. All right? God appointed you that in the Garden of Eden when he gave it to Adam. Adam is our first father. All right? Next. Have I tried to foster a Christian family where Jesus is Lord? Ooh, 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 they ain't gonna like that one. They ain't gonna like that one. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. That's what that means. Remember, in your home, that didn't say put Jesus in the center. Like Jesus is Lord. He's at the top. He is the one. Why? Because if you put Jesus at the top and you as the man follow Jesus, then your wife will feed the kids to you and you lead everybody to God. That's how it works. Okay? Next, have I prayed with them? Have you prayed with your kids? Now, when your kids get older, of course, and adults, that's different. You know, we try to pray. We have Sunday dinner every Sunday with our children, our grandkids, and a lot of times we pray, we do other things. We just don't say grace. You know, sometimes sometimes you get away from things, but the main thing is if you forget to do it sometimes, you get back on the horse. Okay? And then when your kids are young, like when my boys were younger, I take them to adoration with me, take the daily mass with me, and my daughter, I take her, we go do trips. And it's not all the time, but if they see you praying and they see you going to church, like my kids every day, my two sons, my two youngest still live with us till they get their careers going. So they see me every day. Hey, y'all, I'm going to the church. They know I'm going to adoration, you know? So if they want to go, they can go. You know, they don't, you know, because they cool now, right? They cool now. But listen, I don't make nobody do, that's your spiritual life with God. It's your life. I don't make them do nothing. Only thing I make them do is if you live with me, Sunday, you at church. You at mass every Sunday. I don't want to hear about you gotta go to work. I don't want to hear about you know, I got something to do. I'm tired. I don't care about none of that stuff. If you're gonna live in this house, your butt's going to mass. You don't let nobody live in your house as a man and as a wife and as a single mother. You don't let nobody live in your house that ain't going to church on Sunday. You know why? Because you're just asking for the demonic to come in your home. You're just asking for it. Listen, your job is to be a parent, not to be a friend. When your kids grow up, if you want to be their friend and their parent together, that's fine. But you can't be a friend only to your kids. They ain't gonna respect you properly, and that's not your job anyway. Your job is to be a parent, okay? But please understand, nobody lives in your house starting the day if they're not going to mass on Sunday. If they ain't and they don't want to, you say, look, you got 30 days to get out. That from now on, that's the rule. 30 days, you got to go. And you know, me and my wife are firmly on that one. Because listen, if I got to get my dirty butt up on Sunday to go to church after I didn't work 8, 10, 12, 16 hours during the week, your butt's definitely going to get up and go. You definitely going. And you're going to do something in the church too. You ain't going to just be sitting around going to mass every week, don't do nothing. You're going to serve. You're going to be an usher. You're going to be in the choir. You're going to do something. You know, that's what I told my sons a couple months ago. I told my wife, look, they're going to start doing something. Because if you don't do nothing, then you're not getting closer to God. If you're stagnant with God, you ain't growing with God. Okay? If you don't have the knowledge of God, you can't love God. All right? You can say Jerry said that one. So, next, have I been persistent and courageous in my training and teaching? Have I been consistent and courageous in my training and teaching? So that mainly means training and teaching in the faith, but also other things about life, life skills and stuff like that, okay? Courageous, like if your kids are being whiny about it, if your wife don't agree with it, or your wife is doing something good, you don't agree with it, is she being courageous? Are you being courageous? Are you making those kids do what's good for them instead of being weak and letting them do what they want to do? Listen, we're going to be judged on that. We're going to be judged on that, okay? So, have I disciplined them when necessary? See, this is God talking. It's right here in the examination of conscience. Before you go into the confessional, it's right here. Have I disciplined them when necessary? It's right here. If we don't discipline our children, we are doing a disservice to them. We are. Okay? But there's like me. I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I never just spank my kids when they do something wrong at the first. I never have done that. You know why? Because I believe I try to be like Christ. Even when I wasn't in the church, that's how I did it. I have a system. I learned a long time ago, you don't whip your child when you're mad. You don't punish your child when you're mad. You don't. You calm down for a little bit because, you calm down for a little bit, get your thoughts together, and then you punish them. You try, because if you punish your kids when you're angry, first of all, if you're spanking them, things can get out of control. If you put them on what do they call it? Not curfew with the kids. Make them stay in their room. Punishment like that. Make them stay in their room, take their phones. They can't hang out with their friends and stuff. That right there, you don't want to punish. You don't want to even do that when you're angry because you're going to over punish them. The punishment might not fit the crime, right? And listen, these are things that you do not take as a man in your home. You never take your kid insulting your wife. Nobody in your home assaults your wife. Nobody in your home smarts off to your wife. Nobody in your home treats your wife with anything other than love, respect, caring, and reverence and devotion. If they don't do that, they got to go. And as a man, your job is to pounce on that now. My kids know. Don't you even think about raising your voice to my wife, to your mother, who is my wife. It ain't gonna happen because you will get beat down real quick. Nobody does, why? Why is that number one rule? It's the number one rule, but you gotta teach ignorant, stupid boys how to treat women. And if you allow your sons to smart off to their mother, to treat their mother with disrespect, to call your mother names, even to do stupid little faces that the kids do. You know how they do, like, get all like huffy and puffy with their mother and stuff. No, you can't even do that in my house. You know why? Because if you start doing that, then what happens is then it starts increasing more and more, and you look up, and then the very thing you was trying to stop, the kids are doing. You can never allow that. You don't let your kids make a stupid face with when they're getting with their mother, with you. You don't do that. You don't let your kids get away with nothing when it comes to discipline and authority. Like with you as the husband, you do not let your kids defy you in any way. You know why? Because they're gonna get out here in the real world with a gang member or a police officer or a teacher, and they're gonna get beat down. They're gonna get arrested. They're gonna get kicked out of school. If that's number two, the number two thing is you don't let your kids disrespect authority in the home, which is you. You are very rough on that. Why? You have to be, especially with boys. And then usually the girls will come along. The girls will come along because girls ain't stupid. Because boys are the ones that usually act out first. The boy, because they can't think, they don't think right, think straight. They act out first, and the girls learn real quick. Like my daughter, she learned real quick. Because I get on Max and Marcus, my first two boys. I would get on them quick. Boom. And she learned real quick. Like, she don't play that. She didn't play it. She learned real fast. And that's what I'm telling you. The reason you and your wife have to be so hard on discipline is because you can't send your kids out in the world and not understanding what respect is to authority. Because if they're going to disrespect you in the home, they're going to carry it out there. But in the home, this is why you have to be merciful. You have to be empathetic with your children. You have to explain to them why they're in trouble. And you have to let them know that you love them. That's what that love conversation is about. Like, look, I had to whoop your butt. You know why I had to whoop your butt, right? Yeah, Dad, I know. That's another thing. I ain't got to tell my kids why they got a whooping. Or I ain't got to tell my kids why I took their phone. I ain't got to tell my kids why they on punishment. They got to do extra chores. You know why? Because I done gave them 3 and 4 chances, sometimes more than that. I done gave them 3 or 4 chances. And they know that, so they know when why they get in trouble, but I still sit them down and let them know anyway. You know why? Because that's the fair thing to do. That you're on the same page, because you don't want them to do it again, right? One thing about my sons, my 2 youngest sons and my daughter, they have a lot of their mother in them. So she don't play. She's more of the, listen, that's what they said, do, that's what you're supposed to do. And they're a lot more laid back. My other 2 boys got a lot of me in them. I'm fiery, that's just how I am. And so, I got to be on them a little bit more. But the thing about it is you've got to understand. You've got to understand that that's how you are. So when you discipline, you've got to sit them down and have the conversation. You got to let them know. Okay? You've got to test them and let them know that you love and you care about them. And I know I keep harping on this, man, but the conversation, when you discipline your child, it is very important that you sit them down and you let them know why. You let them know that we're not going to have this conversation again. And you let them know that you love them more than anything. Then your kids, if the kids know they're getting in trouble, they can accept it more. They're like, listen, they know I caused it. So especially if you're merciful and you give them chances. That's why I don't whoop my kids or I don't punish my kids the first time unless they do something that requires it immediately. Like, let's say you're up in the bedroom and you and your wife sleep and your 6-year-old opens the door to let some stranger in the house. He's automatically getting a whooping. Automatically. You know why? Ain't no thought about that one. Because you've been told don't open the door. Especially you've been told them don't open the door for nobody ever. So me and my wife upstairs sleep and you go open the door, that means you put a danger to us. Danger and safety are above everything. You don't sit there and think about it then. We don't have no talks when it comes to stuff like when danger and safety. Or like if your son steps to you as a man, he's 10 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, he's smelling himself and he steps to you, you got to put him down now. You got to put him down now. You know why? Because he's going to run your house. He's going to run it. Now, some of you might think that that's unfair to do him like that. No, it ain't. Dude, when you're raising a son, you got to treat him, you got to prevent him from getting put in jail and understanding that he can't confront you as the father in the home. You're Christ in the home. If he could confront you, he's going to confront Christ. He ain't going to do nothing. He's going to go out here and confront a police officer, or he's going to piss off a gang member. He's going to get shot and stabbed and put in jail. People don't really realize what they do in the house affects everything outside the house. That's just the way it is. And if your son comes to you and confronts you, you got to put him down. immediately. If he's trying to raise his fist to you, we ain't talking. We ain't talking. Ain't no talking involved in that. But see, if you raise your kid right from the time they come out of the womb, and you nurture them, and you let them know that you love them, and then let you care about them, and you form them right in the church with God, your son will never ever step to you. Never. None of my sons have ever stepped to me, ever. And it's not because they're necessarily scared, it's because they know I love them. They know that. And if I tell them something, it's because I love them, I have their best interests at heart. And that's how you got to look at it. If you try to wait till your kid is 10, 11, 12, the further that you allow discipline to go past the age of 10, you are asking for problems with boys and girls too. Girls too. Because they start spilling the hormones, man. People say, oh, they're just being teenagers. I don't care what they've been. You are not going to disrespect your mother and me. Because why? You're a black boy, and I can't let you go out here being stupid with some police officer, because you will get shot. That's why I'm the way I am. Because I've got to raise black boys. I've got to raise boys. They're black. And this society will put them down real quick. So again, like I said the other day, every boy, all my sons know, and my daughter too, but my sons especially, because women, they don't piss officers off like that. They know how to deal with them a lot better than we do. But my sons, when the cop pulls you over, you put your hands on the steering wheel. You don't reach for nothing. You don't reach for your insurance. You don't reach for your license. You don't reach for your gun in the back seat. You don't do anything. You put your hands right on the steering wheel. You look straight forward, and you look. And when the officer comes to the side window, he'll tap on the window and he'll say, "Hey man," basically saying, "Let your window down." Only then do you pull your hand off of the steering wheel to let the window down, but your other hand stays on the steering wheel. And then you let the window down, and then you put your other hand back on the steering wheel, and you look at the officer, and he'll go, what he'll say, something like, you know why I pulled you over. If you know, you don't be silly. If you know, say yes, I know. If you don't know, say no, sir, I don't. And you always respectful. You are always respectful to officers. Yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, officer, no, officer. These people today that are out here telling black kids to disrespect black men, or black people in general, white people too, telling people to disrespect police officers are stupid. They're stupid. He has a gun. Do you know now police officers get out of their car with their hand on their gun now? They have their hand on their service revolver when they get out of the car. So they are ready to pull it out and shoot somebody. So you're going to disrespect him and treat him like crap, and then you're going to piss him off. And so then you're like, oh, okay, you're going to play games. I'm going to show you what games are. He's going to yank your butt, yank your son or your daughter. He's going to yank him out of the car. First he's going to call for backup if he ain't got a partner. And then he's going to get his partner. He's going to come yank your butt out of the car, put your face to the pavement, and your daughters too. Put their face to the pavement. Then he's going to call for the big boys. He's going to call for all his backup boys. And then before you know it, that's why when you drive along the highway and on the streets, you wonder why all those police cars out there for that one dude. Because that dude was acting silly. So the cops these days, they don't play, man. They do not play. And if you act like you have some sense and you treat your boys how to act like they got some sense, your boys will survive. And that's what you want. You want your children to survive out here in the world, and you got to equip them for that. Okay? Listen, I know I talk very direct about this because I've been through a lot in my life with this stuff. I've coached a lot of boys. Mothers bring them to the football field because they ain't got no dads in the home. I've coached for 20 years. And man, I'm telling you, I know how to deal with boys. I really do. And you got to teach your boys how to survive out here. And that's a gift that I have. But man, you can't be being all weak with your kids. You can't, especially your boys. Okay. So next, discipline. I know we on for a long time. So next, let me see. Have I been lazy and are showing no interest, concern, or enthusiasm for my children? So being lazy, showing no interest or concern for them, you got to spend time with your kids. You got to go to their events. If you can't make it, you let them know, but you don't make that a habit like that. Okay. Have I talked with them to find out their problems, concerns, and fears? So it's like your wife. With your kids, you keep your radar out. It's your job as a man, as a husband, as a father. Keep your radar up so you know what's wrong with your children. If your kid has never disrespected you before, and all of a sudden they're disrespecting you, you know something's wrong with them. Take the time to sit down and talk to them, and you will grow. Once your kids know that you care about them, they will open up to you and let you know a lot of things. And more than that, you know what's more important than that? When your kids go outside and you're not around, they're going to do what you and your wife would have them do anyway, for the most part. That is the mark of good parenting. That when your child goes to school, when they step outside your door and you're not around, they still do what God and you have asked them to do, for the most part. I say for the most part because we all know kids, right? So next, have I been affectionate toward them? Being a man, women are easy. They easy like that for most women anyway. Husbands, we have a problem sometimes. We want them to be tough. But listen, I hug my adult boys. I still hug them and kiss them. I do. They know that their father loves them. When they was kids, I did it. Dad, they'd be like, and then my son, Jericho, he's a trip. My son Jericho's a trip. He's like Mr. Big 20 years old now. And so I'll go and like, usually it happens on Sundays or something, because we're all together, and I'll hug him, and he stands there all stiff. He won't let me pull him to the side. He stays all stiff, and so I get on my tiptoes and kiss him on the cheek and stuff, and hug him, tell him I love him and stuff. He's a trip. But dude, my boys know I love them. My kids know I love them. I spend time with them, even as adults. Your job as a father is never over. When your kids get 18, they are no longer children. They are adults. So now you move from directing them what to do to guiding them on what to do. That's a whole different thing. You move from directing them what to do to guiding them what to do. Okay? It's very important. And as my kids grow up, once they hit 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, every year I gave them, I interfered in their life less. I gave them more and more responsibility. I gave them more and more of a leash. Why? Because me and my wife had to prepare them to be an adult, right? Okay. So next, have I hugged them and told them that I love them? Talked about that one. Have I played or recreated with them? We talked about that. 40. Not for the next one. Have I been impatient and frustrated with my kids? That's a good one. If you lose your temper on your kid, you apologize, just like with your wife. You pull them to the side and say, look, man, I'm sorry. I overreacted or whatever, if it was your fault, okay? If you get frustrated or whatever, you try to, as a man, I've learned in my home, I have to always be under control, because people get real, like when the mother ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's true. But when daddy ain't happy, it's a whole different world. Things start getting tore up, So I've learned in my home, I have to be very, very under control at all times. The reason why is because you don't want your family to be scared of you. And because once your kids and your wife have to be scared of you, it's a different world. It's different it's different for them knowing that you have the capability to put fear in them. But like if somebody's breaking in the house, right? Like, and you gotta be like, go to your room right now, and you getting your gun out or whatever you do to protect your house, that's different. But to lose control in the home, when just because you got mad and stuff and there's no threat or something like that, that's gonna, you don't want that in your wife and in your children, because then it makes it very hard to develop a great relationship. Have I corrected them out of love in order to teach them what is right and good? I talked about that. You correct your kids out of love because you love them. You're empathetic with them. You're sympathetic with them. And you always try your best to be on their side. But when they do wrong, you bust the butt. You punish them. You take their phone. You put them on punishment in their room. You don't let them spend time with their friends. The way I do things is when I discipline my kids, I have a certain system. It's best to have a system. You know why? That way you have a system that you follow and your anger does not come into play. That's why you heard me say, I never punish my kids when I'm mad. I calm down first. And then I say, okay, that's number one. That's your first chance. If it doesn't to do with safety or emergency, safety or danger, okay? Then like when I did punish my children, if they got to the point after I gave them 3 or 4 chances and they didn't, and they still doing the same stuff, then you get how many licks you get is how old you are. So if you're 5 years old, you get 1 lick. So you get 5 licks and you get +1. That way, as a father and a mother, you don't lose control. Everything's in a controlled environment. You don't be mad and start beating the heck out of your kid and putting marks on your kid. Then the kid going to school with marks all on them and stuff, which is wrong, right? This is why you got to be under control. If you're 10 years old and you in a whooping, a spanking situation, you get 10 licks +1. And guess what? All of a sudden, we don't have those problems no more. If you as a parent get to the point where you have to spank your child like that, then, they need it, then they'll probably conform and start to act right. If you sit them down and they know why you're punishing them. Okay. Next, have I spoken to them in a sarcastic or demeaning way? And have I treated them with respect? Boom. Talked about that. Next, have I held resentments against them? Oh, that's a good one. Having resentment towards your children. I see it all the time. But what you got to do, man, is it's like with your wife. You got to not let that stuff hold you. You don't let it go. Pray on it. Ask God to groom it for you. Make it right with your kid the best you can. Okay? Remember the prodigal son. He pissed his father off, took the money, squandered it, came back, and then, he had his hat in his hand, and he was very, sad about it. The other son got mad, but the father was like, look, man, let's celebrate. Our son is home. And then once you celebrate, then you sit down and you talk about, and you try to fix stuff. And try to talk about the problems and how you can make it better. Okay? So, have I forgiven my kids for when I resented them? So talked about that. Have I been of one heart and one mind with my spouse in the upbringing of the children? Have I been of one heart and one mind with my spouse in the upbringing of our children? Oh my God, that is so important. I talked about this earlier. You and your wife have to be on one page when it comes to raising the kids. If you disagree, this is why you can't just talk about having fun all the time. You got to actually talk about things that mean something. So when they come up, you've already got it sorted out. So you and your wife have to be on the same page. If you disagree, you go in the bedroom, you figure it out, and you come out with one decision together. If you can't figure it out, then you tell your child, I don't know. We're still talking about it. We got to figure it out. Okay. So next, have I allowed disagreements and dissension to disrupt the training, education, and discipline of our children? You see how in this document, this thing of the church, of God talking, of Christ talking, that discipline comes up a lot? It's not a coincidence. Discipline comes up a lot. Because if you're not disciplined in your life, you're going to be a failure, right? Anything we do, if we're not disciplined in what we do, we're going to fail at it, and not be good or be inept at it. Okay, so disagreements, dissension to disrupt the training, education, and discipline of our children. We have basically be in there. I talked about that. So next, have I undermined the role of authority in the eyes of my children by speaking negatively against God, the church, my spouse, or others who hold legitimate authority over them? So that means what? You do not we're not supposed to dog out our priest in front of our kids. We're not supposed to dog out the church in front of our kids. We're not supposed to dog out Christ and God in front of our kids. Why? Because those are authority figures and they deserve a certain amount of respect. And if you're saying that our priest is stupid, he's dumb, you know, now you could talk about things scripturally, like, look, man, I wish our father would, preach more on the word more, or I wish, things like that. Or if it's out in the open that you just say, like, that a priest raped a woman or something. I mean, well, you can talk about that out loud. It's open. Everybody knows about it, so that's different. But to openly disrespect the authority of Christ, a priest, the church, archdiocese, and things, a bishop, things like that, you're not supposed to do that. And it's obvious. It's obvious. But there's a lot of pain in the church these days, and I understand why people do it. So next, have I been a good Christian witness to my children in what I say or do I demand one standard for them and another for myself? That do what I say and not as I do, that stuff don't work. Your kids will hate you for it. They will disrespect you, and your wife will hate you for it. She'll disrespect you. This is why I ask guys we've got to fix ourselves. We've got to fix ourselves, okay? Kids will do what you do. Your wife will do what you do. Your kids will do what you do because you are the leader in the home. That's the way God set it up. So whatever you do, if you say something and then do something different, they're not going to do what you say. They're going to do what you do. It's been proven. It's been proven. So next, have I been properly generous with my children regarding money and physical and material well-being? That's self-explanatory. You don't let your kids starve. You make sure your kids got, food. Food and clothing and shelter. You don't spoil your kids, giving them elaborate gifts, and things like that. One thing mistake we made the mistake of giving our kids phones. No, we gave our daughter a phone when she was in grade school or something, in a freshman, and that was the biggest mistake we ever did with our daughter. You should never give your kid a cell phone. You should never do it. Because you know what? They're going to talk to people that you don't know they're talking to. It opens them up to all kind of stuff. Now, I don't know if you could program the phone to only accept certain calls. I don't know. I've never tried that. But if people say, well, they got to be able to call me, or I got to be able to call them. Okay, well, that's cool. But used to be nobody had phones and stuff. Call the school. Talk to them, But if you got to give your kid a phone, it needs to be blocked. Everything has to be blocked from coming to your child except your number, your husband's number, their brothers and sisters' number, their grandparents' number, things like their godmother and godfather's numbers. That, especially the younger your kid is, the more you got to be on that. You can't just give your child a phone and say, go out and talk to whoever you want to, go on any website you want to, and blah, blah, blah. Every kid in my house, except my daughter, because she's the oldest, and so we learned from that, nobody in our house had a cell phone until they were grown. You know why? Because then you could pay for it yourself. And that's how it was. Next, have I been miserly? That's simple. Have I withheld money and just, didn't take care of my kids properly and stuff like that? Next, last one, have I been extravagant, thus spoiling them? We talked about that. Giving your kids too much, they don't appreciate it, don't respect you. They don't, and then they become materialistic. Their partners that they choose to spend their life with, their husbands, their husbands, their daughters, their husbands, their wives that they choose, they're going to be materialistic with them, which means selfishness. And what will happen is they will lose their wife. They'll lose their husband. Okay. So that being said, we are done for the day. Man, we went through a lot today. I'm so sorry. But you know what? That is just the way it is. So we'll be right back. Bam. This is the longest I have ever went. Iron 45 minutes. But I'm cutting a lot of it out because of the technical problems we had. That being said, thank you for staying with me this long. I'm so sorry that usually if we stay this long, it'll be because we have like 2 or 3 or 4 calls and stuff. Um, you can't help that. This is a call-in show, not a content show. But I wanted to get that done today. I know it was a lot of stuff, but man, I hope it helped you as it's helped me. The main thing I try to do, man, is to be with God, to let God guide my way I deal with my children. And it has worked. It has worked over the years. It has worked, man. My kids, they love being around me and my wife. My wife is the nurturer. She's the one that directs everything. She brings me in along, and she brings the kids along, and we just rally around her. She's the heart of the home. If you allow your wife to do that and nurture, man, your home will be very beautiful and peaceful. The kids will want to be around you, around the mother. They'll love hanging out together, And so the last thing I'm going to say is, everybody, please go and see the movie Nefarious. Go and see the movie Nefarious. My wife took me last week. The reason it is banned as not banned. It's not banned. The reason it's in the horror genre is because of it's talked about Satan and demons and things like that. But it doesn't show any of that stuff. The reason it's banned like that because it's directed at kids to get kids and young adults to go see the movie. It's Catholic all the way. It is on the faith, completely of the faith. Oh my God, you will not believe how good it is. And they were trying to get youth and kids to come to God more. And so what do you have to do as a marketer? You got to put things that kids will want to see, like the scary picture and being in the horror genre. Kids love that stuff. But when they get in there, it lives up to its billing, but man, it is not what you think. It is so good. You've got to go see it. The rated R is not. You don't even worry about the rated R. They probably made a rated R probably because of how a prisoner dies in an electric chair. That's the probably reason rated R. But it has no foul language. It has none of that stuff, man. It is really, really good, man. You will see. You will not be disappointed that you went to go see that movie, Nefarious. It puts the perspective of how Satan has taken over the world and their plan and everything, and how the angels and Satan are how the angels and the church is moved to fight it and stuff like that, fight evil. And it's in movie form. It's not a documentary. It's in movie form. It is so good. And I'm a movie buff, man. So if I tell you something's good, it's good. It's not going to waste your time. So with that being said, we're out of here for the day. And so we end, as we always do, with Pope Benedict XVI, which states, society offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. So go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is upon you. Fast, pray, and prepare for battle. Thank you for listening in today. If what you heard helped you in any way and you would like more personal attention, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior marriage coaching. And remember to join the Catholic Alpha Radical Live podcast as a caller or listener every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. To join as a caller, dial area code 313-RADICAL. To join as a listener or view the live stream, visit the Catholic Alpha Radical Live Facebook page or visit CatholicAlpha.com for Catholic marriage help that actually works. Bam!